Hey everyone, welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar on annotation scales in DraftSight. Today we're going to focus on understanding how annotation scales work and how they help you create consistent professional drawings regardless of viewport scale. I am your webinar host today. My name's Kevin Land. I am a global DraftSight industry process expert senior specialist. Oh, just call me CAD dude. That's what I am. I've got 25 plus years knowledge. It's closing out on 30, but just a couple more years and I'll hit that 30 mark. I'll throw a nice little big party and you will all know about it. But I have been around the block for a while, touched a variety of different software, and I've worked in a variety of fields as well. I'm also a certified AutoCAD instructor, or maybe not anymore since I'm now on the DraftSight team, and we love DraftSight. This is a picture of me, by the way, of the puppy booth at the 3D Experience World in last year. Not last year, but maybe like 2 months ago. I say last year. But it was a very fun time. We expect to do that a lot more at our events. And you might ask me, why puppies? Well, because puppies are nice and relaxing, and you can go and chill out. And when you're at the expo, you can relax and pet a puppy and just think about maybe even adopting these guys. So from this event, there was 3 puppies that were adopted from them. I'm not even sure if that was the 1, 2, 3 there, but that was a nice feeling that these guys were adopted from the event. So I definitely support having them back and more puppies getting adopted to nice families. Okay, back to the event here. Why annotation scales matter. We're going to go over annotation scale fundamentals, managing annotation scales. I'm going to do a live demo, do some best practices and troubleshooting, and then we'll get to a Q&A. And like always, my webinars do tend to go for a while, but I want to make sure that you get the most benefits out of the webinar itself. So why do annotation scales matter? I mean, many CAD users experience these typical common issues where their scales just are mismatched. Hey, say that 3 times fast. Annotation scales eliminate the need to manually adjust annotation size for every viewport or drawing scale. All you have to do is basically set it and forget it. It's a great way to make sure that when you're placing objects in there, they will come out to be the correct size. So, for example, the scale here is 1/2 inch, and you have a scale that's 1/4 inch. As soon as you change that scale, your text is going to be very, very small. So will the hatch. So will the text. So will any kind of blocks that have attributes within them. Manual scaling just wastes time. I've done it for years. I started way back in AutoCAD Release 13, and having to create layers to represent each dim scale is a pain. And making sure that the object gets onto that same layer and copying things multiple times to make sure that it is a big pain. So working with annotation scales will help you reduce that amount of time. And just a quick link here to understanding scale factors in case you don't, need a quick refresher. It says on the DraftSight blog. It just kind of goes over a quick just mention of how scales work and such like that. So if you do need a quick refresher, you have that here just for your own information. I'll put the link in at the very end of the webinar as well. So what do annotation scales actually do? They ensure that the annotations, such as text and dimensions, appear at consistent sizes when plotted, regardless of the viewport scale. So you go in, and there's honestly a little checkbox for the object that you want. If it's a dimension, if it's a text, if it's a hatch, there's a little checkbox, and when you click it, you go in and into a viewport, and you set the scale for that viewport onto the actual object itself. And then once you do that, once you change the scale of the viewport, the object will disappear from that scale and requiring you to put on the scale of the new viewport size. So what this does is it reduces the amount of layers that you'll have to create for each and every object scale. So I'm sure you all know, like when you need to do a dimension for a different size and a different viewport that's in the general area, say the stairwell right here, if I didn't want to show off anything else here, and I just want to show a couple of dimensions, I don't have to recreate these or put them on a different layer. I just put these guys on a different scale, the blocks and the text and such like that. I just place them on a different scale, make sure that it's annotative, and then just add that viewport scale to those objects. And they will only show up in this size right here and scale down appropriately. It's super effective, and it makes it for a lot easier to work with when you have things that are overlapping like this. It's great for that purpose. But there are things to be aware of when, like anything, though. So that's what we're going to go over today. All the things that are great about it and the things you have to watch out about it as well. So again, the type of annotative objects are hatch, text. It could be simple text or multi-line text, tables, annotation dimensions, the multi-leaders, and blocks. And it could be blocks with attributes or without attributes, depending. Now, I say blocks, but remember, if it's a block that is supposed to be a certain size, like say for a chair, for a table, or something like that, those ones you don't want to add annotative scales to, because you want to keep it at the size. The only things that you're pretty much changing are the text, or say the only things that would be a block would be like, say, a section block, or maybe a bubble of a block, maybe a column bubble, that type of stuff that you want to grow and shrink with the objects. Those are the types of things that you would have. The same thing for tables as well. If your table is in paper space, then you don't have to add an annotative object to it. Just leave it as 1-to-1, put the text in there as 1/8 or stuff like that, and you can place the table in your paper space. But if your table is going to be in model space, then yeah, go ahead and add some annotative text to it, annotative scale to it. That way it'll grow and shrink with your viewport, if that's what you're doing. So how do we manage annotative scales in DraftSight? Well, there's a little button up in your annotative tab that says Annotation Scaling. And you can see you add in a scale, or you can remove scales as well. So maybe you didn't want certain objects to be on a certain size scale. That's how you would do that. You can go through and edit the scale list, and the scale list is basically, you can do it for metric or imperial scales, depending on what you're working on. So, and again, you have the ability to add and remove multiple scales from objects. That's what this one is. So if you want to select multiple things, you can do that as well. This match scales position one, which that one does, is, as I'm going to show you in the demo, you can adjust the scale position depending on where they are located. So when you have multiple scales for multiple viewports, you can still adjust them and it won't touch the other scales. So if you have something that's supposed to stay at one certain location, that's where it will be. If you want them all to be put back to their same locations, that's what this match scale position will do for you. All right. So enough of me talking. I'm going to go into a live demo. I'm going to show you how to do the difference between non-annotative text, creating annotative text, working with dimensions, multiple annotation scales, viewport matching, all the good stuff that comes with it. And again, I'm going to go over certain things that you're going to need to know about when working with annotation scales. All right, so now we are in our good old DraftSight. 2026 SP1 is the version that I'm on. So if anything looks a little bit different or acts a little different, that is the reason why. Definitely make sure to go up to the latest SP because there are a lot of updates in every one of them. For 2026, got our new awesome start page. Gonna go through, make sure that I have my setup the way I want it. Uh, I don't need the BIM navigator at the moment. I don't need the G code generator, and I don't need home by me. So that when I start off a new file, I make sure my crosshair is as is. And what I'm actually going to do is just go in and open up my wall base here instead of starting a new one blank. But I wanted to show you the difference in scales. So this is a typical plan of a drawing. You have this, overall plan view, and then you just want to do a little blow up of the stairwell. You already have a bunch of dimensions that you kind of want to reuse, but if you bring them in, you'll see that the scale is now much bigger, which is a big no-no in the drafting world. You want to make sure that the size always matches. You don't want to ever have text or even the objects be different sizes. It's okay for the actual object, the building itself to be the same size, to be a different size because you're blowing it up, but you want the text to be a different size. So in the old days, how did we fix that? Well, we had to go in and say, okay, I gotta do a dim dash, let's see, 24. I say 24 because that was what the scale is here. And then we do a dim dash 48, dim dash 48. And I would separate out the two. I'd say, okay, well, let me activate dim dash 24 because I want them to be over here. And I'd go into my annotate and I'd have to create a dimension style here. I'm going to create a new one here that is 24. And I'm going to go through and say, well, the scale factor is 24 there as well. And everything else I'm going to leave. I'm going to actually make this 1/8 inch high and say okay. And then I have to create another one off of 24 and I say, okay, well, that's going to be 48. Create new. And I have to go into here and say 48 as well and say okay. And then, okay, well, I need to make, since I'm going to be going in and working on this one first, I'm going to activate that one. And then I'd start putting in my dimensions here. And oops, that's the wrong scale factor. That's the one that scales up the dimension. So let's go back in and fix that. So let's go in and go back into my dimension style and hit edit. And it is scaling up. Yeah, there it is. See the scale factor 20. Oops, sorry. The fit. There it is. 24. That's where I need to be put it in there, not the scale factor. This should be staying at 1. And then clicking OK. I got to do the same thing for this one here. This is going to be 48. And my primary unit, that's going to be scale factor of 1. Click OK and click close. And you can see now it is the correct size. But down here, you can see it's super small. So what do I have to do? I have to go in here and say, okay, well, I don't want 24 to be active in here. So I have to freeze it in this viewport. Oh, sorry. I have to freeze it in this viewport here. And then I'm going to have to make 48 active in this one. So I got to go back in and let's go, okay, here to here and drag it down. And there we go. Now we got 40, but I see I have doubles here. Oh, man, I got to go in, make sure that, oops, that was on the wrong scale. Man, it's such a pain. There we go. Now I got the full size there. But now it's showing up over here. So now I got to go back over here and turn off 48 in that one so that the objects are different size. And again, doing that for multiple viewports is a big pain. So that is where annotation scaling comes into play. And it will save so much time when you understand how it works and what it's actually doing. So let's create our own and let's start fresh. I like to start fresh. That way there's nothing inside here that, might mess our time up. So I'm just going to create a simple rectangle 0, 0, 20, 30, something like that. And then I'm going to create a dim style for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our dimensions, go up to our dimension style right here, and you can see that it usually comes with a standard and an annotative. If I just click on annotative and activate it, that is the annotative style. And when I do that, all it's doing is if I go into edit and go to primary units, oh, not primary units, fit right here, fit. This is the only thing that's really changed. Annotative scale, that little checkbox. So you don't have to change the scale factor right here. But everything else you kind of leave as is. Or, if you don't want by block, you can say by layer, depending on how you like your dimensions. But you keep these sizes all around the same. 1/8 inch, 3/32, whatever the size is that you wish to do. And you can still set your style. It does not have to be also annotative. The main annotative dimension will control the text as well. Same thing for blocks. The attributes don't have to be annotative if you have the block annotative, and I'll show that as well. So again, the only thing I'm really doing is just checking this little box and clicking OK. Everything else you can change, but you don't make them large size text. So now that the annotative is set here, what you're going to do is once you make your objects, the typical process is you make your objects and then you go, okay, well, now I need to make a sheet for it. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to leave it as a typical sheet size. What we're going to do is, let's say we want to make this like a 1/2 inch, something small like that. And then what I'm going to do is going to pull this over here to get there. Viewport. I'll move it out of the way. And then what I'll do is I'll copy this guy over here. And then we'll do another viewport and we'll make that 1 inch equals 1 foot. There we go. So you got two different sizes. Zoom in here. And what I'm going to do is add in the dimensions here. So you can do it inside the viewport to kind of make your life a little easier. But what you want is when you click on here, oops, I missed. I saw that miss. I'm not going to let that happen. You can see it'll make it full size. So if I check this size right here, but notice it did not appear over here. I'm just going to pop this out here. Obviously, I can also change the units. Let's go and do that right now. Just if anyone's ever wondered, let's do instead of that we'll bring it down to 0. Actually, let's bring it up to 60 because that's typical like measurement. Let's say okay. Close. There we go. That's much better. So notice though it didn't come up over here. Why is that? Because if I go into here and I go into my properties, you'll see that there's this little thing right here, miscellaneous. Annotative is yes, and the annotative scale is 1/2 inch. Now, I don't have to go into here and do that whole thing again. What I want to do is just add these scales, this viewport scale, into these dimensions over here. And how I do that, I can just select them both like that. I go to my properties. And then I can just say add. And I can add in whatever viewport scale I want. And I'll do that. What was that one? This is the 1 inch one. Go, okay. Okay, and there they go. And you'll notice, there's a little refresh, regen, there we go. If I were to select them, they are individual. But look at that, there's a little ghosting thing that happens right here. See, it shows off both sizes. And what that is it's totally fine. It's just showing you that there are two different multiple scales for this object. And if I were to select this one and I kind of move it up and move it over here, notice it doesn't change over here. They're independent. So they are same but different. There's an old Vietnamese saying I learned was same but different. That's what's going on here. They are the same object, but they're acting kind of independently in a way when they're within the viewport. So you can go through, go ahead, grab it. Don't hit M for move. If I would hit M for move and go like this and go, oh yeah, I want to move it. See what happens? It will move them both. Well, you want to just use the grip point and go, okay, that one is going to go up to there. That one goes up on the inside. And that's what you would do. All right, so let's do the same for adding some text on the inside here. So let's, before I do that, I'm going to create just some text, 1/8 inch high, and just say scale. And then what we're going to do is just add a little field to it so that we know what field is what. So the way you do that, you just right click, go field, go to entities, select the entity, pick this guy. It'll give you the list of everything. And then I'm just going to say, okay, this is, 1/2 inch equal to 1 foot. Click OK. That's how you add that field. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just down a little bit. Scale. Right click, insert field, entities, pick this entity right there, custom scale, same thing. That way I know which one is which. And if I were to change any of these scales, this would also adjust as well. So now let's put it on the inside. Now, this text is on the outside in Paperspace. I don't need to add annotative scales to them. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to create or just select the annotative here. And if you're ever wondering how to get to the scale here, these scales, I can type in style, and it'll bring up the style manager here. So you can see there is an annotative already in here. So all you have to really do is just select annotative. And then I'm going to change this to be the 3DS because we've got the nice, cool 3DS text. And look, that is the main key button. Then you'll notice this for all of the annotative text or annotative objects. They all have a little checkbox right here. So you check the box on, it'll be annotated. You check it off, it'll be not. And the name doesn't really matter there up there. It's this checkbox is what really matters. I'm going to click apply, click OK. I'm going to double click inside and I'm going to say DT for dtext. And I will just say the height is already default. See, 0.125 is already defaulting to 0.125. I'm just going to hit enter. And then specify 0 for the text. And what we're going to say is, let's say we want it to say rectangular text. Now, notice what happened. It's tiny, Kevin, but you put it into the viewport and look what happened. I didn't set my annotative scale up there. That's the reason why. So if I were to do this and then say dtext and go into here, and now I type in rectangle, there you go. Now it adds it in there. So make sure that you have the scale set. And if you're like, but Kevin, you already made it down there. How do you add it in there? There's 2 ways to do it. Go over to here, add current scale. Notice, though, before I even do that, it's right here as well because it shows up in both because it's not annotative just yet. So if I click into here and I say add current scale and I pick the object, didn't do it. Why did that not do it? Well, it's not annotative yet. It's still the other style. See? Not annotative. So I can select this. Yes, now it's annotative. And now when I add in that current scale, oh, there's one other thing. Remember when I was in there before? This is a big key one right here. Sheet text height. It's still keeping the original text height of what I typed in earlier. So now I have to type in what I want it to be is the sheet text height of 1/8 inch. This one's probably not 1/8 inch. Yep, that's 0.2. That's why that's not showing up. But 1/8 inch. There we go. So big key things to remember when you're working with text is one, make sure that it is annotative. Make sure that this says yes. Make sure that it has the annotative scale to it. And then look down here. This is the big Q1 2 for text. Make sure that is actually set to whatever you want it to print to. So if I want it to be 0.25, that's where I'm going to set it right here. I don't say 4 inches. If I said 4 inches, it's going to be gigantic. So you say 1/8 inch high right there. That is what you want it to be. And then notice it goes away in here. So if you wanted to add it in over there, you can either, like I said, go into here, select them both, and then go and say, okay, yep, I want to add in 1" as well. And go down here to the 1". There we go. And click OK. And click OK. And that will add them in to the other side as well. Same 1/8" high text. Notice too that my dimensions too aren't 1/8, so I'm going to go through and make sure that those go to 1/8 because I like to make sure that everything is 1/8. That's just, the typical side. There we go. Look at that. Now we're looking much nice and cleaner. All right, so let's add in some hatch into this rectangle. I'm going to add in, go to the Home tab. Here's our good old hatch. So the way that you do your hatch is when you click on hatch, you'll notice there's an annotative right here. So as long as it's annotative, then the hatch will be annotative. So if I pick here, and notice that it doesn't come up here, again, I have to make sure that, where is it? There we go. There we go. It's all about those scales. See, it's annotative, but it doesn't show up here because of this. So you can go through and either do it through the properties. You can also do it through here too. If I go and add remove scales, I can click this button as well and say add, and then go down to the 1". There we go. Okay, and say okay, and that will also add it in on the other side. Notice though that, hey, now my text is kind of in the way. I want it to be on the outside again. You can do that. You go up to here, match scale positions. So I'm going to select this object and it'll pop it back over. Same thing here, match scale positions, select the one that I want it to go to, and there it goes, pops it back out. So they're actually in the same location, general area. And I love using the associative hatch. It just makes my life so much easier when I know that things going to show up the same. So if I were to click here and I turn off the annotative, sorry, not associative, but yes, I love associative too. That makes my life so much easier as well. You can see immediately when I pick over there and I hit enter, that's not a solid fill. That is a very, very thin hatch put in there. And it, you would have to go in and pick and then go, oh crap, this one is going to be 1/8. Or, oh man, I got to make another one for this one over here, so I have to turn it off. It's, it is so much easier when you use annotative hatch. You do it once, you set it, and you forget it. I love that. Such a great feature. So now that we kind of got the basics, let's create a block. I'm just going to go into model space for this one for a block, just because I'm going to need to go into the block editor and such. And plus, I need to zoom in very small, because when you're making annotative blocks, if you're going to have text within it, make sure that you make it kind of around the text. So I'll show you what I mean. So not dtext. We're going to do an attribute, att. Let's just say text. Text for the caption, and then I'll just say A for capital A there. I'll specify the position. It's going to be 1/8 because we like stuff to be 1/8. It is going to be annotative. Make sure, well, actually, I'm going to show you it does not actually have to be annotative text within a block. So I'm going to click off that and click OK. And I'm just going to place it over here for now. And then what I'm going to do is say I'm going to create, well, actually, we'll create a circle. Let's make this middle center like that, and I'll create a circle around it. There we go. And the circle will be 0.3. There we go. What I'll do is I'll just put a little arrow around it too. We'll do a 0.25. 5, something like this. Yeah, cool, that clears it. Go. And I saw that this was a polyline because I love making polylines, but I don't need to do that. J for join. There we go. So now I got my little block arrow here. Arrow. We'll select our objects. There we go. And then this is where you want to see right here, annotative scaling. That's what you want to have on for when you want to make a block that is annotative. If you're making a block, though, that is supposed to be, a chair or something like that, don't make it annotative because then it will scale and you don't want your chair to be scaling up according to the viewport size. This is just for any kind of annotative blocks that you want to actually grow in your viewport. So I'm going to set my center, click OK. There it goes. It turns my block. And you can see when I go into here, this is where it says annotative scale. But you see, it's still set to 1:1, meaning it's very, very tiny. So I'm going to go up in here, go back out into my model space. I think I have it here. No, I don't have it here. Why? What happened? Kevin, I just made it. Why don't I have it here? Because it's not set to that scale. This is set to 1:8. So that's the whole purpose of annotative. If you're like, but I made it. It should be in my viewport. Where did it go? This is where you got to be like, okay, well, what's going on? One of the things that my old instructor taught me a long, long time ago is when things go wrong and you're like, what happened? Just take your hands off the mouse, off the keyboard, and just go, okay, well, what's going on? So the reason why is this just doesn't have the property to it. So go ahead, click on here. I'm going to add in the 1/2 inch right here. And then I'm going to delete the 1:1. I don't need that one there. I'm going to add in that 1 inch as well. There we go. So I'll click OK. There it goes. Automatically grows to be the size. So now when I go back into here, look, it is. There it is right there. So that's just something to always kind of, think about is notice they are same size. Also notice though, if I were to kind of select them and do that trick that I was showing you before, where I'm like, okay, well, here they are, different sizes, you can move them. But if I were to go into here and I say R for rotate and rotate, they both rotate. So that's just something to be aware of, that you can move them around, but when you rotate them, they will both rotate. Same thing for if I were to go into the text and I say, well, I want this one to be B, they're both going to be B. Okay, so it's not fully separate. Like I said, they're same, but different a little bit. You can move them around, but that's basically where it kind of ends. You still would have to create a separate block, to make a separate B one if you wanted to. And that is the key difference. You can move them around, but just move them via their grip point. All right. All right. So what happens when the viewport actually changes scale? So say if I say 3/4 of an inch, I'm just going to do a regen here to show the 3/4. Okay. Well, all you got to do is go into another viewport, go to annotate, and add remove, select all the objects, and then add in that 3/4. And okay. And there we go. It's all put back in. And that's the beauty of working with annotative scales, is I can go through and I can cycle through and not have to worry about having to actually touch the scale at all. I can cycle through. Now, you might be tempted to go, all right, well, if I can do that, then let me just add in everything. And if I go like this and I say add, and I just hold down shift and select everything and hit OK, because I'm like, well, this will be much better, because then I can cycle through and I can say 3/8 inch, I can 3/20, and the text will change. But yeah, you can see how things can get a little bit choppy here. So it's best to not do that. And if you accidentally go through and I remove a scale like this, or if I go through and I go down and I add remove scales. And one other thing too, you're going to see a lot of ghosting like this. This will slow down your machine. So make sure to just add in a couple of scales. Just go through, select the scales that you actually want. I can do Control A. click down, hit delete, and then just go, okay, well, I'm just probably going to stick maybe within a range. It's going to be a half inch. It's going to be a 3/8. It's going to be a quarter, something like that. Okay. And okay. So just stick within a range of where you might think your viewport might be, and don't add in everything. That would be something that would slow down your machine. All right. So what if I have existing dimensions and I want to change them in existing blocks and I want to change them all so that they actually match? So this is where things you're going to have to use another little tool called Batman, especially for the blocks. But for the dimensions, what you need to do is you go in to your dimension style, and notice how this one doesn't have an annotate already set up. But you can see it already has those different type of separate dimension styles. So what I'm going to do is type in anno, and that's usually what I do. I just say anno. Go to my fit. I make sure this does not say 96. Set that down to 1. That's what you want. 1 scale factor. And then just make sure to check your height. 1/16? No, 1/8. What are you doing? Oh, I hit enter by accident. Again, you can go through, check your... I usually like my arrows to be 1/8 as well. Everything else, that's fine. Alternate units. I like them to be below the primary. And then we'll click OK. That we got that. All right. So then again, what we got to do, make sure it's active. Activate it. All right. So what I'm going to do is go into here, select them all. Oh, I got a block by accident there. Let me grab these guys. This guy up here. There we go. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to select this one as well, just to kind of show you what happens when you have multiple selected and you want to get rid of some as well. So, for some reason I got no selection there. Why is that no selection? There we go. Rotated selection. There we go. So, got my dimensions. All you basically have to do is just change the dim style to anno, annotative. I'm going to say yes. See how that says varies? Select that. And then, see how they all go away from this here. If I just wanted to add them in, all you do is just go in and you say add. And these are going to be 1/2 inch. And say, okay. And there you go. Matched, same size. If you're like, oh crap, I added too much in here, no problem. Just select the ones that you don't want to add in there. And you say, I don't want them to be. Or you go up to here. Go into annotate. I'll show you this way too. You say remove current scale. So make sure they're not all selected. Remove current scale. This one and this one. And they go away. Just like that. Same thing up here. I'm going to go select these guys. And say maybe I don't want them in this viewport. So I'm going to say I want them to be annotative. Yes. And notice how it put it 1/2 inch in there automatically. So what I want to do is I need to add in the 1/4 and then remove 1/2. And there you go. I got a nice, much more cleaned up. So now you look at these blocks and you go, oh man, I got blocks in here. How do I turn blocks into annotative that are existing blocks? So I'll show you how to do it. When I go in, I'm going to go into model space just so it makes it a little bit easier because I'm going to have to go into my block editor. But if you notice, if I click on here, there's nothing in here that says there's an annotator right here, but it says no, but it's not editable. You're like, oh man, well, what do I got to do? So there's a process, and this is the process that you want to do. You need to first change this. Since it's a regular block, it was scaled. See? So change that all to 1 so it's full size back to what it is. And then what you want to do is go into the block editor, BE for block edit. If I double click onto it, I'm going to go into the attribute edit because it's an attribute edit. So you got to select it and type in BE for block edit and say OK. So that brings you into here, which is the block editor. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little distance here to see how big this thing is. This is gigantic, 3'6" and 7'8". Remember how I said you need to scale the object down, and it needs to be this text height right here. So the text height is saying it's 1 foot. So that's 12 inches. I'm going to bring up my quick calculator, and we're going to do, let's see, 0.125 divided by 12. Is that the way we want to go? Yep, that's the one we want to go. So I'm going to copy that right there. Copy and close. That's the scale. I'm going to scale down to this insertion point. SC for scale. Select that point. Copy that in. And there we go. Now it's scaled down. So this will scale up now according to our scale factors from annotative scales. Now there's one other thing that I got to do though. I can leave the text as is. It does not have to be annotative. What I need though is to select nothing. Don't select anything. Go into your properties and it's right here, annotative. All I got to do is click yes. So now that makes that object annotative. I'm going to click on close and I hit save. And it made everything super tiny because there's no annotative scale yet set to them. That's the reason why they went tiny. But if I click onto them, oh, also notice this. See how they kind of get messed up because the block, when I don't know what you're doing, this is some kind of silliness here. You can try to do a regen all. No, nothing's happening. Well, that's where Batman comes in. BATTMAN, which stands for the Block Attribute Manager. Batman. It's one of my favorite commands, Batman. I'm going to click on a little search. You can either pick it ahead of time as well. Notice that you can change the boxes here. And notice it says annotative no, but this refers to the text that we did not set. It does not specify the actual block itself. And if I were to hit sync, nothing really happens here. What you need to do is just kind of click on edit and then click OK, and then it will go and sync back. Then you can hit sync, apply, and hit OK. So now it puts the text back into here. So when I click on the object, and then I go into my properties, hey, there you go. I got the annotative here. And so all I got to do now is do the same thing I did before. So how do I do that for multiple? Well, there's a way you can do it. I can select it and then say, select matching. So that selects them all. So now I can go in and add multiple scales. I'll add in that 1/2 inch. And then I'll add in the 1 inch as well. Oh, click OK first. Going too fast. And then click on the 1 inch and click OK. And I'll just delete this 1-to-1 because we don't need that one there. And there we go. Oh, there's one other thing. Did you notice that? This guy is still being that 0.66. So another thing, I'm going to go select matching. I'm going to deselect this one because that was the one I had. There we go. And see, it's still set to 0.6. I just need that set to 1. I forgot to do that for the rest of them. So that's why you want to make that block 1-to-1. Same thing for this one right here as well. I would select it. If there's multiple, I'm going to select multiple. Look at that. It's set to 48. So I'm going to select matching. Set it to 1. 1. 1. But they're all down to 1 inch. And then BE for block edit. Go in. Check the size. 1/8 inch. Oh, this one's a good one. So this one's already set down. It's already been scaled down. See, it's only 1/7 inch. So all I have to do here, all I got to do is just go into here and I say, yep, I want it to be annotative. Yes. Now just go up and hit close and hit save. And now we're back out. So this one, we don't need to use Batman because the text stayed in the same position. So we're good there. And now all we got to do is just add in the scales. And for this one too. Add 1/2. Okay. Add 1 inch. And okay. And I'll delete out the 1-to-1. And there we go. They are back. And oh, this one didn't show up here. Let's get that one in there. That's one. I was doing the other one. Here we go. Let's hit that guy. We'll just add them in here. 1/4. There we go. 1/4. And okay. And there we go. So that's basically the process. And I would do the same thing for the text here and for the block up here. But that's your process of how to go through and change existing blocks. You just go into the block editor, don't select anything, click on OK, make sure it's the scale that you want because it's going to be growing up to the size. So if it's gigantic to start with, it's not going to come out gigantic when it comes into paper space. Also, make sure, I think, is this one or this one? This one. Notice how the insertion point's way off here. Fix that as well when you're in the block. There's 2 ways to fix that, and I'll show you real quick how to do that. This one's really important too, because when these objects scale, they're going to scale by their insertion point. So if this one were to scale, it's going to scale up from this location here. So you want to make sure that this is placed into the center. Go into the redefine block base point. Look at that. It's a cool little handy tool. It pulls it up and go, okay, yep, I want it right there. And all it does is just moves that block back, the insertion point back to where it kind of closer to where it is. Then go into the block editor. Actually, do our process. Remember, select the object. It's 110. That's gigantic. So let me make sure I get them all. I'm going to select matching. Hit 1, 1, 1. That's where you want it to, 1 to 1. Then go into the block editor. I have it selected already, so I can just type in, I had multiple selected. That's why that one didn't work. I select 1, BE, and click OK. All right, so now that we got here, we're going to check the text size. Oh, they love 1/16. That's very, very tiny. So scale this up by 2, 0.02. That should equal 1/8. Hey, where you going there? Yep, there we go, 1/8. So remember, I don't need to touch the text and make it a annotative. All I got to do is just make sure nothing is selected, and then check the annotative box. Click on close, hit save, and then to make sure that this text stays where it is, this is where you use Batman. That's the tool that makes sure that the text doesn't go popping out and going out into left field. We're just going to hit edit. Okay, that's annotative. Okay, hit sync, apply, and okay. And now all we have to do is just add in our annotative scales. So click on this. We got 1/4, and I'm going to hold down tab and hit 1/2, and I just can get rid of the delete right there. And that changes that. Now, if you're ever wondering too, like, Kevin, how do I don't want to keep going back into my viewports. You can go right here. If I go to 1/2 inch, there's all the ones for 1/2 inch. If I go to 1/4 inch, there's everything for 1/4 inch. And obviously there's some things that didn't get added in just yet, but that's how you would switch back and forth if you wanted to see them in here. And if you just leave them as 1-to-1, they'll just stay as is for all the ones that have 1-to-1. But that is basically the process for annotative scales. I'm just going to quick save right there, but it's nice. If you're have multiple viewports and you need to have some shared, you don't want to do double dimensions, okay, just add in some annotative scales. If you're worried about hatching, just add in the hatching. It'll make your life so much easier. All right, let me get back into my PowerPoint presentation here. So some of the common problems and best practices, are the objects, did the property actually get added to it? Just make sure, just look for that little checkbox. Is it on? Cool. If it's not, it's not an annotative object. Is the correct scale assigned to it? That's another big one. Check those little boxes. Is it just set to 1-to-1? I didn't add the 1/4 inch or the 1/2 inch. Does the viewport scale match the annotation scale? That's a big one too. Sometimes things will disappear and you're like, how come it shows up here and it's in here? Or how come it's in model space and it doesn't show up in the viewport? That's the reason, because it doesn't have a matching annotation scale. And then, are you working in the correct space? Is it paper or model space? If something's in paper space, it does not have to be annotative at all. Um, so just a key best practices: set your drawing units when you're first starting off. Metric or imperial will make a difference for your scales. You do have the imperial scales, but if you add an imperial scale or a metric scale to an object that is not, it's going to be either gigantic or very, very tiny. Create your annotative styles. Go through and just set up your style and just make sure to hit annotative. Set those all up for your text, for your hatch, for your dimensions. Then go ahead and start creating your CAD objects, all the CAD objects that you want. Then once you're ready, create your viewports and then scale them to the size that will fit. Then once you have that scale, then you go, okay, now I know what to add for all my objects. And you can do a Control A as well. Like as you're doing your dimensions, you can go ahead and Control A and then go, okay, add in my annotative scale for that viewport. Boom, you've added them all on there. Very quick, handy way of working and making sure that all your objects and annotations stay the correct size. Key takeaways: annotation scales control how the size is, how everything looks. They save time. They can. Once you know how it works, then you go, oh, okay, I can start working with this. And then you can start playing and understanding what it's doing. Just having a proper workflow can prevent common mistakes. Like create your objects first. And then what I do is I create my viewports and I start making sure everything fits, and then I go in and I start adding in my annotation scales. One thing that a lot of people worry about too is when they just keep adding all of the annotation scales. That's something that you don't want to do. Don't just go crazy and be like, I'm going to add them all. Don't do that. That will start slowing stuff down on your machine, especially if everything has that. Just add the scales for the viewports that you're using. You don't have to add in everything. All right. I've talked a lot here for annotation. Let's hear your questions.